No, that was right.
Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. Escambia County Competency Board meeting scheduled November 6th, 9 a.m. Meeting is called to order. Madam Secretary, do we have a determination of quorum?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, with 7 members present, we do. Ms. Jordan will be joining us shortly.
Thank you. Do we have proof of publication?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, it was published on, give me just a second, on October 31st, 2024, in the Escambia County Sun Press.
Thank you. And we're looking for approval of the minutes from October the 2nd, 2024.
Motion to approve.
Motion, second.
Second it.
All in favor? Raise your right hand. Motion passes. Do we have anybody speaking on public forum today?
Chair, I didn't receive any speaker request forms. You might just want to ask the audience. I think everybody in the audience is here for an agenda item.
Okay. Anybody out there want to say a few words, or we're good to move on? We're good to move on. If we can get the secretary status report.
I have nothing for the board at this time.
Wow, you made it simple for me today, haven't you? All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 contractor applications. The first one is Cladarius Jefferson. It's for a general contractor application. Could you please
Yes,
come up?
Mr. Jefferson, you will please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Address 1548 Cadence Loop, Cantonment, Florida.
Board members, if I may speak for a moment to Mr. Jefferson's experience. He currently is employed with RQ Construction. He did provide W-2s to show 1 year, 8 months, and to the present of that employment. He also, you will find an experience verification form relating to his DD-214 from his time in the military, signed off on by his commanding officer for his construction experience. The experience was highlighted on that DD-214 for reference. He also has graduated through Auburn University with a Master's of Real Estate Development as well. With the transcript should be part of that package as well. Mr. Jefferson, would you like to speak to the board a little on your experience in this field?
Sure. So for me personally, I grew up in a family of construction. So my uncle had a construction business in New Orleans. So during the summers, that's what I did. I was rod buster and all various other things and construction. So I did all that in summers while I was in high school, and then also when I was in college. And then I got into the military. I had some opportunities to work on some large DoD construction projects. I led a construction department when I was in Greenland. Did that, and then also when I transitioned out of the military after 8 years, I started construction with a company out in Tampa, Florida. Worked on some projects in downtown Tampa as well, and then now I'm here in Pensacola, working on some DoD projects on NAS Pensacola. So I am very familiar with construction and the processes as well. And as Nick mentioned, I've also received a degree in real estate development, going over all of the competencies of construction and processes and methods.
Mr. Jefferson, if you could please expound on what types of projects, commercial, residential, new single-family dwelling, just let them know what types of projects you've actually hands-on experience in.
Yeah, so I've hands-on experience. I've done residential in my family business. As far as commercial, the project that I worked on in Tampa was a commercial project, 70,000 square feet, full gut renovation of a downtown construction project. So we brought that up to new standards. And then also with the military projects that I worked on, those were projects that were basically going into mission centers, gutting them out, and then refurbishing them, bringing them back up to standard and code. And for the projects that I'm working on currently, these are ground-up development projects for NAS Pensacola, so building a fitness center, and then we're also doing a substation building as well. And the substation building is my project that I'm project managing. So that is a full ground-up development, and then also underground utilities as well, a couple miles of underground utilities.
Do we have staff's recommendation on this?
Staff's recommendation would be for approval.
Okay. Second motion.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Raise your right hand. Motion passes.
All right, thank you, board. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Board members, our next applicant will be Mr. David Bonds Jr., coming before you for application for examination in roofing. Mr. Bonds, if you will please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please.
Hey, my name is David Bonds, and my address is 1950 West Detroit Boulevard, Pensacola, Florida.
Board members, Mr. Bonds does come before you with 4 years, 8 months, and 21 days of experience working for Bowman's Quality Roofing and Repairs. We did notate that due to circumstances, we did allow him to provide W-2s to show his employment and experience to correspond to the experience verification form in this case. Sir, if you would speak a little to your experience in this field, please.
As he said, I've been working for Bowman's Quality Roofing for the past 5 years, but I've been roofing for 23 years. I started at the age of 15, working with my uncles. I've worked for Bill Walther Roofing, Bowman's Quality Roofing, and another roofing company or two over the years. And that's pretty much all I've ever done. The past 6 years, I've gotten more into the paperwork end of things, doing estimates and such.
Staff's recommendation?
Staff's recommendation is that Mr. Bonds does meet the requirement of the 4 years and to approve for testing.
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Looking for a second?
Second.
All in favor? Raise your right hand. Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Bonds.
Thank you all very much.
Board members, our next applicant is going to be Mr. Randall Wayne Gilmore. Mr. Gilmore, if you will please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please.
Randall Wayne Gilmore, 605 English Cove, Florence, Mississippi.
Board members, Mr. Gilmore is coming before you for roofing. As the trade, he does come before you. He has been a business owner in the roofing trade for 19 years, 5 months and 21 days out of the state of Mississippi. You will find the attached Mississippi state licenses that he did provide showing his experience. Some are dated back to 23, and he did go back and provide his original 2006 state license as well to show his experience. Based on this 19 years, staff's recommendation would be for approval.
And Mr. Gilmore, if you could go ahead and please give them a brief rundown of your experience.
Yeah, I've been working since I was 14 years old, doing roofing all my life, with friends and stuff, and I seen I could make more money doing on my own, so I went out on my own and started it. And, I've been doing residential all my life, and, been doing a little commercial on Sonics, I've done probably roofed about 15 Sonics around Mississippi, doing, TPO roof. So that's all I know is roofing.
Okay, staff's
I know
recommendation.
nothing else but roofing.
Staff's recommendation would be for approval.
Okay, seeking a motion for approval?
Motion for approval.
Looking for a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Finally, board members, our final applicant for the day is Mr. Kane Aubrey Downs. He is coming before you to apply for testing and examination for master plumber with gas. Mr. Downs, if you will please state your name and address for the record, sir.
Hey, my name is Kane Downs, 5830 Softly Ponds Road.
And then Mr. Downs comes before you with an experience of 5 years, 11 months, and 30 days. I did notate for the qualifier, you will see that the qualifier did sign with a state certified license. When it was established, 8/26 of 21, dates 3 years, 2 months, and 5 days, but they did hold a registered license initially created on 9/12/2013. So the qualifier does meet the requirement of 4 years because that does total 11 years, 1 month, and 19 days. So, Mr. Downs, if you would, please just speak to your experience in that field, sir, for the board.
My grandpa has Downs Plumbing, been in business for almost 40 years. Started with him when I was 14, 15. So I'm about to turn 30, so I'm coming up on 15 years straight doing plumbing, 5th generation. Been on just about every big property in town, from here to Dothan, Alabama, down Panama City, doing plumbing my whole life. My dad's a master plumber. My grandpa, my uncle, both my cousins just came up here and did this. I got another one coming. Just about every big job in the past 5-6 years that we've done, I've been the lead on. Basically solely in charge of it. I finally time to get my master license. Been doing it forever.
Staff's recommendation would be for approval.
Okay, looking for a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If
If
you
I
were,
If I can just say a quick word, since none of the applicants have left. We appreciate you coming to Escambia County, doing work in Escambia County, but understand what we do as a board here. We try to prevent contractors, roofers, plumbers, electricians to come in here in front of us in the event of a mishap. One thing I can say to the roofers out there is be very cautious, overly cautious on who you hire as subcontractors, because a lot of times what happens is we as contractors and roofers depend on our subcontractors, and they do a faulty job, and at the end of the day, it still falls on the license holder. So please bear that in mind as you're out there and as you're doing business and as you're talking to subcontractors, that you pre-qualify them and don't only go look for the number, but make sure they're qualified and they have the bandwidth in order to do the work that you're asking them to do. We appreciate it, but just, try not to come back to this board. Just protect yourself, protect your license, and do good work out there. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Applicants, you're not required to remain for the duration of this hearing. It's gonna be, probable cause hearings. I mean, you're more than welcome to stay if you would like to, but you're not required to.
I got a long ride back.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you all.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're gonna go to the probable cause hearing. Madam Secretary, if you can just give us a quick update on that.
Yes. So our first item is Wade L. Hunter III, doing business as Lee Hunter Construction LLC, registered license number RR 282812171, contractor competency board complaint number 240863 COM. It's in regard to Julie Ricks, the homeowner complainant at 215 Berry Road, Pensacola, Florida 32507. Proper notice was sent to the respondent. Ms. Ricks, are you present today? And are you going to be providing testimony for this hearing today? I can. Thank you. And Mr. Hunter, are you present today? Just to confirm, Mr. Hunter is not present for this hearing. At this time, I'm going to have Ms. Ricks and Ms. Reber, our investigators, sworn in. Ms. Ricks, you can have a seat. You can sit right here if you would like. We've got some housekeeping stuff to go through first. And Ms. Reber will remain sworn in for the duration of this hearing today.
You swear affirm the testimony about to give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I swear.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to pull up the investigative report from Ms. Reber. And Ms. Reber, if you could just go ahead and take us through the process, the date of the complaint, a brief synopsis of what occurred, and if you found any violations or alleged violations.
Sure. Received a complaint from Ms. Ricks on August 6, 2024. After reviewing all of the complaints, I'm alleging that there was mismanagement and misconduct causing financial harm to the customer and a late permit. In brief, Ms. Ricks entered into a contract with Mr. Hunter on July 3rd of 2024 to perform alterations. The total cost of that project was $66,000. And Ricks provided Hunter a down payment of $35,000 on July 9th. Shortly into the project, Ricks began to have issues with Hunter allegedly not returning her calls, not showing up on the project and such. She noticed several things going on with the project. She became concerned, and so on August 5th, she elected to terminate Mr. Hunter. A review of the permitting history on the project resulted that Hunter had applied for a permit on July 17th, 2024, and was invoiced on July 31st. However, before he made payment on the permit, he was terminated. There was also some things that Ms. Ricks later found out, such as a material supplier was not paid. Sorry, just skimming through. Ms. Ricks also ended up on August 6th paying a subcontracting crew that Hunter had hired, who had come to her and said that they had not received payment. I think that's it.
Okay. Did the complainant provide any documentation to support her complaint? And if so, is it attached to the agenda as backup?
She did, and it is attached.
And did the respondent provide any supporting documentation for the complaint?
He did respond to the complaint, and his response is attached to the complaint in the evidence.
Staff would request that those items attached to the agenda be moved into evidence.
Can I get a motion to move any?
So move.
Second? Second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries.
At this time, Ms. Ricks, it's your opportunity. You can go to the podium or you can remain there and address the board in regard to your complaint.
Yeah, I've met all y'all. A couple months ago, I came in to speak about this particular person. Truthfully, I'm now at a point where I realize I'm never going to recover that money that I gave him. Unless I want to use my money to chase after him to get my money back. And so I guess, you know, coming in here today, I want to understand how it got to this point where a person can actually do this and not really have any repercussions. Because I came for the last hearing that he had that he was fined for, and it just seemed like a little tisk, and then he can go off and he can do this again in another county perhaps, or maybe even in this county again. And like, how do you keep someone like this from continuing to do this, to perpetuate this on other people? Because I feel like now, for me, like, it's okay. I'm okay about it. But he should not be allowed to do this again. What's going to keep him from doing that, or anyone else?
So, Ms. Ricks, just keep in mind that the board only has the authority to do what is within their power. So there are certain parameters whenever these violations are determined that they can only go within certain parameters. I see that there's another case coming after yours, and just with like some historical cases, once these things start coming in, the board tends to take a stronger stance. Unfortunately, we don't get notified by everyone at once. So it seems to be, you know, from the board's perspective, we're only seeing a first blip, and then it starts coming in. So keep in mind, the board can only do what they, within certain parameters.
The fiduciary duty, I guess, is the biggest thing to me. Like, who is accountable for that? That this man can take money from a customer? Where's the fiduciary? I mean, I've talked to so many contractors now since this all started, and most of them have said, no, you cannot take money from a customer and then use that on another project. It's not, you can't do it in real estate. You can't do it in anything else. So where did the money go that I gave him?
It has to go through this process.
Yeah.
This process for anything to be, for any disciplinary action to be taken against any license holder in the county, it has to go through this process. And I understand that this process is not a quick process by any means, but it has to follow this process. So you coming in today is the beginning steps of this process.
Right. I guess I don't have a whole lot to say except for the facts of what happened.
So
Pretty much.
if you could speak more to, because I see that Melissa has noted two things here. If you could speak more to the financial harm allegation, and I know that Melissa has her brief synopsis, but you've been more invested in this complaint.
I gave him $35,000, and within 2 weeks, he was gone. And then I found out after I fired him that he had charged lumber, which was so ridiculous to me because we talked about the budget. And he went and charged the lumber, not to say that can't happen, at Tibbetts Lumber, which was double or almost triple the cost for the lumber that he bought, so he could buy it on credit. So he could have the 30 days to pay it, which in my mind he was never gonna do because it's just how it looks. And so, yeah, when I got a letter from them and then had to follow through with his ex-wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife, who's his partner, business partner, to find out, because even the lumber company will not tell me how much I owe them. They're just gonna tell me, look, if you don't get involved in this and get us paid, we're gonna lien your property. I mean, this is right out the gate. I just bought it, just hired a contractor, And now all of a sudden I'm getting leaned for more money, and this person I gave money to is not spending it where it's supposed to go.
Did you receive a notice to owner from any of these subcontractors or suppliers?
So I actually had the subcontractor who, so there was termite damage and there was some mold issues. And so the floor had to be completely replaced. And the subcontractor that he hired, I was there daily. I was there every single day while this is all going on. And they started to give me the impression that they were afraid they weren't gonna get paid for doing the work. And so I actually reached out to the subcontractor. I didn't care if it was right or not, that he supposedly was contracted by Lee. And I was like, do you need to get paid? And he said, I've been trying to get a hold of Lee for 4 or 5 days, he said, and I can't reach him. And I was like, okay. So I'm not crazy. This guy is really just like, he's left the scene of the crime. And that's kind of how that went. And so then the person, Rodrigo Barahoma, he's also a contractor, he came to me and he said, look, I need you to pay this. I need to pay my guys. And so I went straight to the bank out of fear, got the money, came back and gave it to him. And funny enough, I ended up hiring him because I was a very uneducated homeowner in Florida, because the laws, I came from Virginia, it's completely different there. And this guy, yeah. So anyway, I hired him. So he's been the contractor. I'm not a happy person right now about all this, I'm just gonna tell you.
It's understandable.
Yeah. Insurance, I've had to pay extra to have, builder's risk. I've had to extend my insurance on my property so that I can continue the work on the property. I've had to continue to pay 2 mortgages now because of this person. This whole situation, it feels like I'm being ruined, per se, financially. So, yeah, I would just like for it to be over.
And when did actual work begin on this project?
You mean from when I hired him?
No, when did they physically come and start doing work on this project?
The first, I believe it was the 9th, I believe of July, he sent or dropped a kid off there to do, to take out the cabinets and to do some stuff like that. And that was actually the first issue I had with him, because I showed up and the cabinets were taken out with a crowbar. And I specifically told him the cabinets were in great shape. Can we just take them out and put them in the garage? Because I have something that could potentially be an ADU. And also, there were some appliances in there. One of them in particular couldn't have been more than a year old. It was a range, and I was like, let's save that. Both of those, the cabinets and the range were completely destroyed. And that happened within the first week of him being there, or actually first couple of days. And it was just excuse after excuse when I asked him, why did this happen? Then he lied to me to my face and said there was damage behind the wall of where the cabinets. I looked, like I've been on construction sites pretty much my whole life. So I walked out and looked at the pile to see if there was any evidence of that. None whatsoever. So then I asked him again, and he said, oh, well, I'll take it out of this guy's pay. Well, of course, I felt bad for a young kid, trying to make money, and this is the contractor who's telling him to do this. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Do you have anything else you'd like to share with the board?
Just nothing except for the multiple lies and lies and lies and lies that this person told me about their ability to actually do this job, and couldn't and didn't, but that's
Well,
good.
Mr. X, we're sorry that you've been put in this position, but it's unfortunate that we do have shady contractors out there. But we are here to try to make a difference. I'm not sure how much of a difference we can make, but it's important that you provide us the amount of damages that you've sustained from the events that's taken place. I think that's going to be the next step to look into. And do we have any open permits on Hunter Construction right now outside of the,
Outside of this project?
yeah?
I can look.
Could you also look and see if his insurance is no longer expired?
I can definitely do that as well.
Thank you.
If you just give me just a moment. On your screen, you'll see that I'm bringing up our permitting software, which houses all of the permits and licenses for all projects and contractors in Escambia County.
Ms. Ricks, have you contacted an attorney? Have you contacted an attorney?
I did, yes.
So have you brought suit against him
I
yet?
didn't. I haven't done anything yet. Yeah, she suggested that I take this route first.
Okay.
As you'll see, I'm selecting the license card of Mr. Hunter within our system. His liability and workers' comp is currently up to date. He does have an active license with Escambia County. In his associated permits, you can see that, let me just make this bigger. So you will see, like, this houses every action for this license. It does have some permits that are open, has some permits that are closed. Again, you see one here, contract terminated. Also, the COM cases for his license that this board would review.
So outside of the two that we have in here, he does have other permits that are open? Am I correct in saying that?
Oak Cliff is the next hearing, and this is Berry. Yes, there's something on Air Street, Broadmoor.
Are we allowed to look into those permits and see what the status of the job is at this time, and maybe meet with the homeowners to look and see if there's a pattern of behavior happening so we can
I can show it
prevent
to the board.
Okay.
This is the one that was on Air Street.
And that did come to you, Air Street
It did.
did, but the homeowner has not terminated the permit, and it was still active last we
It is an
looked into
active
it.
permit that's had no inspections on the Air Street. This one is on Broadmoor. It's had one inspection, and actually, if there's no sub-permitting, this one would be deemed expired at this time. Well, it's a replumb, so we would have to go into those sub-permits just to confirm
Check and
whether
see.
it's expired or not, but it's still an open.
Yeah, if we can, just check
Permit.
into it, so that way, we can prepare ourselves and, anticipate anything that's happening with those homeowners.
That's the direction of the board for us to review his projects,
I would,
for staff to review.
yes,
Okay.
please.
We can do that for you.
Okay, and so what of our marching orders on this first case?
So again, this is a probable cause hearing. At this time, the board is going to determine whether they believe that there's probable cause that he violated county ordinance, state statute, et cetera. Okay? Again, on your screen, you would have the alleged violations provided by our investigator. This is what she feels has possibly been violated by Mr. Hunter. But it's at the discretion of the board on how they would like to proceed.
Certainly, and have we had any communication with the contractor?
I
Has he-
believe that the contractor did provide a statement, and it's in the backup. And here it is here. If you want, I can read it into the record. It's already part of the record.
Please.
So his response says, and this is to Melissa, the investigator, it says, Melissa, in regards to Julie, I will forward you over my original invoice plus the changes made in a separate email. This email, I will outline the job. On July 3rd at 2:47 p.m., I received a text stating she closed and received keys. Sunday, July 7th, she texted a photo of where she hid the key outside. Monday, July 8, we started removing carpet and baseboards without a deposit when Julie asked about paying. I said, give us a few days. We like to get rolling first. We didn't have to purchase anything the first day for demo, so no need to press for deposit. Around this time, Julie has brought to our attention that she is wanting us to convert a bedroom and build a wall dividing this bedroom into 2 parts and to add another bathroom, never discussed in original estimate or plans of renovation. This caused for a wall to be cut into and the entry door to be relocated. It was then brought to our attention she wanted to remove the current hall bath and move that into where the current kitchen was, and then old bath into master closet. This is when I cut electrical wires out of the bottom of the electrical panel and shoved down the floor because of the wall the panel was currently on was being removed. Moving this electrical panel was another change never discussed in the additional plans or estimate that caused the central heat and air to have to be relocated, which was done and placed in the attic by a licensed contractor. This relocation of HVAC was also never discussed or paid for in the original scope. This job was consisting of subfloor removal of dining and a bathroom due to termite reports. We instead did entire house after the fact because Julie was worried about the dog and cat urine that soaked through the carpet into the subfloor and was afraid we could not get rid of the smell. On Saturday, July 20th, I received pictures from the crew that all of the subfloor has been removed. I am not sure of exact date, but permit was kicked back due to not having my up-to-date insurance with the county. When I did receive the email stating I had an invoice to pay for the permit, I logged on and it said contract termination on July 31st. On Friday, August 2nd, I got word from the crews that all subfloor has been installed. This is where the job stood on this date. I'm not sure what has been done since. I do know that she is wanting to remove a large load-bearing wall, and she's not wanting to wait on plans if she's fired us within 30 days on starting job while plans was in work for this. And that's the end of this document.
Do we have any pictures that they attached to this case?
No, there's no
There's
pictures.
no pictures. I'll open it up to the board if they have any questions.
We do have a backup document that says project sketches that was submitted by the respondent.
Were the appropriate permits pulled for this? I remember, I read
So
something about electrical.
he submitted application for his structural permit. His insurance was not up to date, so his application was returned back to him until he could get that remedied. He got that remedied. When he went in to pay the invoice for the permit application, Ms. Ricks had already contract terminated it at that time. There were no electrical permits being pulled, and I believe Melissa got with our deputy building official, John, and for what was done, the disconnect and turning it down, that did not require a permit. Had future or more electrical work been done, it possibly could have, but to date, it did not require it.
And just to note, there is a photo of the electrical box on the floor.
Yeah, I
That's
remember
within
seeing
the
that.
backup documents.
So, any questions? If not, we'd need to seek a motion to move it to disciplinary action.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand. So you were saying that there was never a permit pulled, period, before this contractor started the work?
That is accurate.
correct? Okay.
He did not have the permit in hand prior to starting the work.
And when his insurance was paid and when he went back to get the permit, by that time, the owner went ahead and pulled the contract, so to speak.
That is correct.
Okay. Okay.
We go back to the,
Alleged violations, yes, sir.
Make a motion to move it to disciplinary hearing based off of the alleged violations.
I second that.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Ms. Ricks, just to let you know that you will be receiving notice that this has proceeded to a disciplinary hearing. We'll get out that administrative complaint as soon as possible, but you will be receiving notice of when that will occur.
And then as the interim chairman had mentioned, please make sure that you get the amount of damages together and you have that.
Thank you.
Our next item is Wade L. Hunter III, doing business as Lee Hunter Construction LLC, registered license number RR 282812171, Contractor Competency Board Complaints Number 240967COM. This is in regard to Jeffrey and Cynthia Hedenberg, the homeowner complainants at 6561 Oak Cliff Road, Pensacola, Florida 32526. Proper notice was sent to the respondent. Mr. and Ms. Hedenberg, you are present today, and are you going to be providing testimony for this hearing? Thank you. Again, I'm going to sound the room for Mr. Hunter. Are you here today? I'm confirming that Mr. Hunter is still not present. At this time, I'm going to have Mr. and Ms. Hedenberg sworn in, and just a reminder, Ms. Reber was previously sworn. If you could just be sworn in, thank you. At this time, I'm going to bring up the investigative report from Ms. Reber. Ms. Reber, if you could go ahead and just give us a brief synopsis of this complaint, including date filed, permits, et cetera.
I received this complaint from the Hindenburgs on August 26, 2024. The Hindenburgs state that they entered into a contract on October 21st, 2023 to perform alterations to their home. The total cost of the project was $94,150. The Hindenburgs paid an initial deposit of $68,000 on November 27th, 2023. The project started off by doing some demolition. Mr. Hunter did get and then did some framing of the walls. He did get a framing inspection. The Hindenburgs also made a progress payment on June 5th of 2024 for $15,000. Mr. and Ms. Hindenburg allege that the work began to slow down after that progress payment was made. They began to be concerned once it was time to put a roof on the project, and they were notified that Mr. Hunter had not paid the deposit to the roofer. So in order to keep the project moving, the Hindenburgs did make a $5,000 deposit on September 11th. During September, the Hindenburgs continued to try and reach out to Hunter to come back onto the project. He was not answering anything, calls, texts, emails to them. They were notified by a supplier company that the bill for the materials had not been paid for their project, and the supplier was threatening a lien. Therefore, the Hindenburgs made the payment to the lumber company on October 8th, 2024 for $1,111.39. They also went ahead and had the roof completely put on and paid the roofing company the balance of $7,546.56 on October 4th. A search of the permitting history for 6561 Oak Cliff resulted in an alteration permit being obtained by Lee Hunter on May 20th, 2024, with a pass strapping and nailing inspection on June 5th, 2024. Hunter did not respond to this complaint. After reviewing all the documents, I'm alleging that Code Section 1837C12, finding that a contractor is guilty of fraud or deceit or gross negligence, incompetency, or misconduct in the practice of contracting. Code Section 1837D10, he's abandoned the project. And Code Section 1837D15A, late permit, contractor pulled the permit after starting the job but prior to completion of the same, and doesn't miss any inspections at this point.
And Ms. Reber, did the complainants provide any supporting documentation for their complaint, and is it attached to the agenda?
Yes, they did, and everything is attached.
And did you receive anything from the respondent in regard to supporting documentation?
He did not respond.
Staff would ask that the supporting documentation attached to the agenda be moved into evidence.
So move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. At this time, Mr. and Ms. Hindenburg, this is your opportunity to talk about your complaint with the board.
My biggest question, since I heard the one before, is how do we get this moved to the state's attorney? Somebody that can actually do something to him and has the power to. That's my biggest concern.
I'm going to turn that over to legal.
You filed a complaint with them, didn't you?
I have called them. They will not do anything until they hear from you all.
Yeah, we have to go through the process, and this is the first step of the process. And once we move the contractor into the disciplinary action, then what we do is we come back and we'll look and see what type of restitution that you're asking for. And then we make a motion towards that. We also make a motion towards letting the state know what actions to take. And I think that after that step happens is when you guys can go and, take it from there, whether it's through legal counsel or whether it's through the state attorney's office. But that's as far as we're allowed to do it, but we have to go through the process. And like I said, unfortunately, time-wise, we only have these meetings once a month, and we have to have enough time to make sure that we let all the parties know of all the events that are taking place, so they give them an opportunity to whether rebuttal or come in front of us and, give us their version of the story. But, I mean, that is the process, and they're right, this is the first step, because we have to look at it from the entire county point of view, and that's one of the reasons I ask is how many other permits that are open. And I certainly don't want to, and I'm pretty sure my colleagues on this board don't want any other individual to be out there in the same position and then advance more money. And I seen in your case, you have a $94,000 contract with a scope of work, and you clearly paid him close to that amount, if not more. And,
Well,
I don't know if he provided any change orders to you or not, or.
The work that he did it wasn't as bad as what happened to the previous testimony. Mine, he went through on the contract, if you look at it, we contracted for our kitchen walls to be removed and a fireplace to be removed. He started that right away. We had a little bit of a problem because that was a large space, and when I looked at it, the ceiling was starting to drop. So I said, we need a beam. So he stopped, got a guy to come in and do the beam, and all that went up fine. The two guys that were working for him, one was a kid, one was an older gentleman, they're not really super friendly. They're not high on speaking English, so we had that problem. When it got further on, he got that done. See, there's some stuff that's finished, and then the date she gave you of that last inspection, that was the last, basically, I heard from him until he sent an email that you guys have, probably dated around 9/18. He didn't write that email. That's not his syntax.
Can we pull that up and see what his rebuttal was?
The one, is it attached to the staff?
Yeah.
Okay, hang on just a moment.
She's got them in different order, but it. Yep, that one.
This is the document that Mr. Hindenburg is referencing. I've brought it up on your screen.
Since receiving this, we haven't heard word one from him. No texts, no calls.
So this was the last communication you had with him?
Yeah,
Okay.
supposedly with him. This is more like syntax. What the computer says it is, when I ran it through a match, it says it's a woman's typing wording.
Okay. Any questions we have from the board? Will we seek a motion to move it to disciplinary unless staff has anything to add?
I think, real quick, just to see, so obviously the deposit was 68,000, and then in addition to with the lumber and the roofing that you paid out of pocket, that was a total of 12,546.56 cents.
I paid
For the
him
roofing?
68,000
Okay,
initially,
and then the additional.
then another 15,000 when the framing was complete.
Okay.
So if I'm just scrolling down, you have the 68,000 initial, 15,000 that, after the
Upon-
framing. Then your claim is he didn't pay the deposit on the roof, so you paid the 5,000 deposit on the roof. Then you had the Tibbetts lumber of $1,111.39, and the balance of the roof of $7,546.56.
Yes.
Is that, okay.
The Tibbetts Lumber put a lien on my property, so I went ahead and paid on that because he was just letting it, every month was getting another interest charge on it.
And did you receive a notice to owner from the supplier? No, so, a notice of commencement is that you would file, and it says that, that the main contractor could possibly file a lien. If that main contractor is using subcontractors or supply houses for them to have the capability to file a lien, they're supposed to submit to you a notice to owner.
From Tibbetts? Yes.
You did, okay.
Okay, you did.
Do you know
And
when
I believe go ahead,
Do
I'm
you know
sorry.
when he replaced the beam?
That was probably within the week that I said something needed to be done.
Was that in the November, December timeframe or more towards the
That would have
spring?
been in 2023.
Okay.
The beam was finished before Christmas. Yeah.
And the permit date was in May, is that right?
That is correct. It was obtained May 20th, 2024.
Where's the job stand currently? Is it completed or is it still pending work?
Okay, after I put the roof on, my big problem right now is I can't get insurance on the house. It has 4 windows that aren't there, and they won't insure for the wind migration without the windows. The inside, the outside isn't got any, it doesn't have windows, it doesn't have siding. The framing was done, but under the bottom sill, there is no seal, It has the bolts put down every 4 feet like it's required, but they didn't run from the bottom seal to the top sill, they didn't run the threaded support for that. So there are gonna be problems getting that framing on the wiring and everything else done. The inside of the room is basically open walls. The one side of it was up against, the side that's up against the back of the house, I've started work on taking the brick down to put the wallboard up. The north side of the room has a sliding glass door and a window and metal siding from where the sunroom, where it goes against the sunroom on the back of the house. I haven't started there yet, but that's gonna all have to be removed and wallboard put up. I've got to get those all down so I can run wiring. And so I've got to hire an electrician to do all that. I've got plumbing I've got to do for the master bath. We contracted for a vanity. We had problems getting it. Every time it came in, it was broken. So we had him return it. We bought our own. It's currently sitting in my garage. The only reason it's not in is the plumbing, and there's another section of wall that needs to come down so it can fit in. He took one wall down out of my bathroom, out of the master bath, that separated the sink area and the shower area, and moved some lights. I heard you all talking about electrical permits. As far as I know, there were none pulled for any electrical work that his dad did. That would have been including the walls in the kitchen, because they all had light switches and plugs, which I had him move up to the ceiling so I didn't lose sockets. What else on the room? The original master bedroom is gonna become 2 closets with a wall between. That's part of the stuff that he hadn't gotten to because of the situation, I guess. But basically, after the last visit was the 5th, probably at the same time he did that inspection occurred. That was the last time he was at the house.
Did we have any inspections done during the process?
Yes.
Yes,
And were they passed, or?
it did, yes,
did.
past inspection.
June 5th, so this permit will expire in December. It's still a valid permit.
Okay, and currently it is a valid permit.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And I know that Mr. Hindenburg mentioned about electrical work being performed. Mr. Hindenburg, you can file a complaint against the person that did the electrical work and did not get a permit.
That's the one problem we have. We weren't home.
Oh.
My wife was working still at Walmart, and I was working at Santa
So you
Rosa
don't really,
Corrections.
got you, I
We
understand.
were leaving the key.
Okay.
Question for legal. Is there a way to kind of dam the river with this a little bit and potentially suspend him bringing out any more permits for the interim until we go through the disciplinary action? Or do we have to wait until the disciplinary action to then suspend?
I'll defer to staff on that.
So currently, we have nothing in our adopted ordinance that allows this board to preemptively take care of that. Unfortunately, we do have to go through the disciplinary process that opens the door for you to be able to do that.
Okay, and we don't have any pictures of this project either, right? No.
We do not. Ms. Hindenburg, I think you wanted to say something as well.
Yeah, I do. The money that we pulled and paid this gentleman with was my husband's retirement money. So now he has no retirement money. We have no money to finish the project because I'm the one working sole worker. So I'm just left with a house that's got, I have like 30 boxes of flooring sitting in my living room because I have nowhere to put it. We can't do anything with the room. We can't, like he said, we can't get insurance because there's no windows. So we have no money to buy the windows so that we can get insurance on the house. And it's just very frustrating because for somebody to come in and be able to take all of your money and just walk off with it, it's just not right. But yeah, he has made a lot more work for us to do other than what is originally needed to be done. The living room floor is gonna have to be replaced because where he took up the old flooring out of, well, he didn't take up the flooring, he just put it down. So the living room flooring was a little bit higher than the kitchen and everything, so he put plywood down. But they didn't get the right
Thickness.
thickness of the plywood. So when you walk on that section of flooring, it sponges up and down. So we're gonna have to pull the flooring up and get that fixed. There's just little things that he's done and has caused more damage to, and I'm just really irritated. And I did, when we were having issues with getting in touch with him and everything, I did ask him, I said, do you intend to finish this job? Are you just taking my money? He's like, no, I would never do something like that. So, you know, he basically lied to my face right there, and it's just not cool that he can do that to somebody, you know?
No, we totally agree with you, and it shouldn't happen. And again, we apologize, that it has happened to you, but, we just have to be a little more proactive also and then try to prevent things like this. But right now, if you can compile a list of any additional damages that you know that you're going to be sustaining from the work that has been done,
Okay.
and provide it to staff, so that way when we do make our decisions, that, we have all the ammunition that we need in order to make the right decision.
Yeah, and the one thing is, we can't get anyone to come out and estimate what it's gonna cost to finish the room and to do the other stuff because they don't wanna get involved, with that. So basically, I'm just sitting there with a useless room and no insurance on my house. So if there was a storm or something to hit and do damage to it, I'm just out that because we can't get the insurance.
Or maybe staff can make some recommendations on residential contractors if we have any, I don't know, but.
Unfortunately, we cannot give recommendations in that
Kinda figured
regard.
But there's plenty of them out there, that will come in and quote something for you, and they won't charge. I see commercials all the time.
I called Emerald Coast, which is the parent company to the guys that did the roof. They don't wanna get their hands in it because of the situation. They're afraid they're gonna end up in a court cost or a court battle with him coming in saying, well, I've still got permits and they're taking my job, was what I was quoted.
So what can they do about the open permit? Is there anything that they can do? I mean, currently it's open, so, there's no direction we can give you until we go through this process.
So the permit is still open until it would expire in December. Like Ms. Ricks did the contract termination process, that doesn't close that permit out. It just, if she wanted to move on, get a different contractor, then he would not hit any brick walls in getting his permits. Yes, sir.
I've been told if I do that, my civil part, taking him to court, will end. If I cancel the contract, I will lose a lot of my ability and my force that I have of taking him to court.
Is that a council telling you that, or somebody? Okay. Well, maybe you have to take his advice on that, because we don't know about legal interpretations and what you can or cannot
As
do.
long as I have an open contract with him and he's not working, I stand a lot better judgment against him than if I fire him and try to hire somebody else.
Okay.
Because then he can say I terminated the contract, he's not responsible for anything anymore.
Well, you started this process, so this can only help the cause. I don't think it'll hurt it any. And like we said earlier, it's unfortunate that it takes a little bit of time. So we'll make a decision here in a few minutes to see if we can move this into disciplinary action. And if we do, in the next month's meeting, I think it'll be up on the agenda item where we'll go in, we'll take some action against individual and his company to look and see what outcome would be, and then after that, I'm pretty sure you'll have some leverage on your end, whether it's civil or whether, closing out the permits. I'm sure they'll give you some advice on that. So any questions from the board?
And I just, kind of a question, so when you say you can't get insurance, you mean homeowner's insurance, or you can't get a builder's risk under renovation
We can't.
policy?
It's the homeowner's insurance,
There's,
right?
nobody wants to offer, it's just an addition on the house, and that's I was quoted $3,500 for a builder's.
So you can get, you can
I
get a
can
builder's
that
risk?
kind of insurance, but I can't get homeowner.
Correct, yeah. I just wanted to make sure, you could at least get a builder's risk policy
But all
that
they
would,
will cover is the addition.
you can actually get another one that will cover the addition and your house while it's under
But
renovation.
there's the problem of the money to get
Right, I
that.
understand, it's the money. I got you.
Okay, so you get a motion? If you want to pull that violations up.
I make a motion, we put this in disciplinary action immediately.
Second.
So all three code violations move into disciplinary actions. We got a first and we got a second, and all in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Again, like we explained, Ms. Ricks, you will be receiving notice of when this will occur. The board basically kind of said it would be next month. That is generally how this happens. We will get that administrative complaint drafted and out to you along with that notice. The board has also requested that you provide any additional damages information. If you can get that to the investigator, Ms. Reaver, at your earliest convenience, that would be great. Yes, sir.
Okay, I think, do we have anything else on the agenda?
Actually, no, sir, there is nothing else on the agenda.
So, okay, we'll look for a motion to adjourn. Unless you all want to still stay here.
Second.
There we go. All in favor of motion to adjourn? All right. Very good. All right, thank you all.
Thank you.